Hey everybody, Jam Creates here, doing another drive-in video this time. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I did last night. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here for a while, welcome back. Last night, my friend and I went to a special screening near us of a documentary called What We Left Behind, and the documentary is all about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and it was directed by and essentially kind of stars Ira Stephen Bear, who was the showrunner of DS9. And so what we did was there's a I don't know if you've ever heard of Fathom events. I brought them up once before when I talked about going to see Transformers, the movie, the animated movie, the 1986, the good one, when I went to go see that in the theater with my friend, and we got a poster, and we got to watch the Transformers on the big screen, which was great. So they do a lot of events like that. They do special screenings. They show old movies. They show, sometimes they have themes, like they're doing Ghibli Fest, where they're basically showing a bunch of Studio Ghibli movies for a while. Like they're showing Nausicaa and Kiki's Delivery Service and My Neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke and like a bunch of stuff. So they do that, and then they show special events of other movies as well, just older movies that you never got the chance to see on the big screen, things like Jaws and stuff like that. And then they do stuff like this. This is a movie that essentially is going straight to DVD, straight to Blu-ray and DVD. It's coming out, I forget when it's coming out, but it was literally showing for one night only, and only in select theaters and only part of this Fathom event. So my friend, it's funny because my friend, he texted me a while back, and he was saying that because he had to have surgery on his shoulder, he was going to be laid up for a while, and he's been binging. He had binged through Star Trek The Next Generation, and now he was doing Deep Space Nine. And I was like, yes. I'm like, absolutely, like, do that. I'm like, and just wait, wait until they introduce the Dominion, and you'll holy smokes, are you gonna go nuts? And sure enough, he absolutely loved it. He fell in love with the show, and he just ripped his way through the whole thing. And then he texted me or messaged me on Facebook or whatever about this event, and he was like, and it had the trailer for the documentary. He's like, is this something you'd be interested in? I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So last night we went. Not a ton of people in the theater, I have to be honest. I would say, for something that was only screening one night only, fairly small turnout. I would say maybe about 10 or 15 people in the theater, which is definitely a little disappointing. Just because, as a fan of Deep Space Nine, I know how DS9 always seems to be the redheaded stepchild of the Star Trek fandom for some reason, even though that description would be more fitting for Voyager, since they had Janeway and Tom Paris both had red hair, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so the documentary was well done. It was interesting. They had a lot of interviews with the cast. They had interviews with the writers and stuff, and it was neat to hear them go back and to watch the crew go back. When I say the crew, I mean the crew of Deep Space Nine, the actors. To watch them go back and get together and interact with one another and talk about how much it meant to them and how much they enjoyed it. And what was really funny, actually, they had a lot of them reading. Well, I wouldn't call them fan letters, but they were letters that were written, I guess, to Paramount or whomever at the time, just absolutely ripping the show. And they had them reading all this stuff, and it was all stuff about, a lot of it was from when the show first started. And so it was a lot of stuff about complaining about a show set on a space station and how it's not even Star Trek, if that's what it is. And like, it was just a lot of stuff. And it's funny because the actors genuinely seem to get a kick out of reading it. Like, they actually laugh at it. And it is fun. It's a funny thing. I mean, listen, we've seen it, with the whole Jimmy Kimmel mean tweets nonsense that they do all the time. Like, it's funny. But to me, I shouldn't say the most, but one of the most interesting things was one, them talking about, a couple of real interesting things I took away from it were one, that when they cast Avery Brooks as the character, they were originally thinking of the character as being much younger and like on the way up, which is part of the reason why he was Commander Sisko to start. But also the other thing, what I thought was really funny was, for some reason, they didn't want him, which is why he looked the way he does in the first couple seasons, where they made him shave off the goatee and to grow his hair, because they felt like having him with the bald head and the goatee would look too like street, too like modern day, and they didn't feel like it fit in the Star Trek universe, which is an interesting idea. But let's all be honest, once he shaves the head and has the goatee, the show just got better. Now, I don't know if that's just a coincidence or whatever. I mean, Avery Brooks is a fantastic actor, so I'm sure his goatee and hair has nothing to do with his acting ability. But the other really interesting thing that they did was they got back together a bunch of the main writers from the series, and they sat them all together in a room, and they essentially, what they call it breaking an episode. Basically what they did was they sat down and they plotted out an entire new episode. They set it up as, like, what they did was they approached it from the standpoint of, we're making season 8 episode 1. That's what we're doing. And all that time has passed. 20 years has gone by since we left the station, and now we're coming back, and here's where we're at. And then that was where they started with coming up with a new story for a new episode that would theoretically be the premiere episode of a season 8, which would of course then lead to 22 more episodes of an entire season. And they said, like, we're not trying to, they basically said, like, we're not trying to make an episode that takes place in the 1990s, like back then. Like, we're doing one for now, for modern television and what you can do on modern television and all that. So it was interesting to see how they approached it. I mean, they clearly, right from the get-go, had a little bit of a different approach. But it's still it was funny because the story that they pitched still felt very Deep Space Nine. And it was really interesting. And the funny part of the whole thing is that, and knowing Deep Space Nine, and they even did a whole section about this in the documentary, Deep Space Nine had a lot of multi-part episodes, and then, of course, later, during the Dominion War, became very serialized. And because that was a show that was shown in syndication, there were places, and I never thought about this because it was on every week by me. It was never an issue. But apparently, that didn't happen everywhere. Sometimes you go, in other cities, it would air, and then 1 week, and then it wouldn't air another week, and then it would air again, and then, like, it would skip 2 weeks and then come back. Like, I don't know what they were doing, like, who's programming those channels, but so what happened was, like, the studio was annoyed because they're like, no, you need to make these standalone episodes. But they just kept doing what they were doing anyway. And they kept, like, the studio was telling them, you're losing viewers, you're bleeding viewers like this. And they were just like, yeah, but we're telling the best story we can tell. And so, interestingly enough, the first episode that they make for this fictional season 8 ends on a cliffhanger and is, of course, to be continued. Of course, it's only to be continued in our imaginations because it's not going to happen. As much as I would love to see something like that happen, being a big Star Trek fan and especially being a really big Deep Space Nine fan, I would love to go back to the station. And I thought that they had an interesting start, and the actors were funny about it because they talked about one of the things they were doing is in the open of the show, the tease before the theme song, which they always have, and every Star Trek show has. They kill off Nog, and they destroy the Defiant right at the get-go. Nog is the captain of the Defiant, and then it explodes like right at the beginning. They come through the wormhole, get to Deep Space Nine, and then they explode before he can reveal whatever big secret he was about to reveal. And then that sets up the mystery that they go, and then at the end of the episode, they have Cisco reappear to everyone. And now, of course, everyone's older, and he's been gone for all this time. So, of course, the question is, what was he doing in the wormhole with the Prophets all this time? And then they even figured out a way to angle Section 31 into it, and it was definitely cool. Like it was a neat idea, and it would definitely, I think, make a pretty cool setup for a new season. But it was just fun in a way to revisit and to go back. And if you were a fan of the show, I would definitely recommend checking it out when it comes out on digital and on DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. They talked a lot about how they did a post-show little feature where they talked about one of the big things they talked about was converting the old clips into HD, using the original films negatives and converting them into HD, and that was interesting. Although the discussion does go on kind of a long time, it's very dry. But the idea of at some point them ever releasing a Blu-ray like they did with Next Generation, where they went back to the original negative and they remastered the entire thing for high definition with Next Generation. If they were to do that with Deep Space Nine, that would be amazing. I would love to see that. I absolutely would love to see that show in HD, done the right way. It would be so cool to see. As a big, I've always been a big, I was a huge Next Generation fan and a huge Deep Space Nine fan, and that's why the new Trek really annoys me, because it's just not good, and it's not that same world, that we came to love and know. And that's why I'm worried about the new Picard show. I did a video about that a while ago, about the new Picard show that they're going to have on their CBS All Access thing. And I basically, the title of the video was, don't make it so-so, because I don't want it to be lousy. I want it to be good. If we're going to go back, and we're going to go back to Next Generation, and we're going to go back to that world, I want it to be that world. Don't make it some weird, oh, no, this is Picard, yeah, but it's in the Abrams version of Star Trek. No, that's not what I want. I want Picard in his world. And I don't know if that's what we're going to get or not what we're going to get. I honestly really have no idea at this point. And so I'm definitely worried about that. But I would love to revisit Deep Space Nine at some point. They never got a movie like The Next Generation did. They never got, anything beyond the show, and that was it. And so it was nice to have this little documentary to go back and really appreciate what a great show that really was. And there's so much more they could have covered. If they just started going through episodes, there's so many great episodes of that show. And, it would have been they joke about it, and they say the documentary would have been 8 hours long, But, it is what it is. But I would recommend, if you're a fan of Deep Space Nine, I would certainly recommend, check it out when it comes out on, streaming services, or if it comes out, when it comes out on DVD or whatever. I would definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch if you're a fan of Deep Space Nine. And if you weren't a fan of Deep Space Nine, but you were a fan, let's say, of Next Generation or something, I still think it might be worth a watch just to kind of like prime yourself for what did you miss. But anyway, that was it. We went to the movies. We watched that documentary on the big screen, which was fun to see. It was fun to do, to be in the room with some other hardcore Deep Space Nine fans. That was fun. So anyway, if you, that's the video for now. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you attended a screening, or if you saw if you managed to see the documentary, I would love to hear what you thought of it. Let me know in the comments. It was definitely fun. Like I said, it was a cool thing to do on a random Monday night, going out to the movies, and checking out a one-time screening of a documentary. So let me know in the comments if you did it. Awesome. I want to hear from you. If you didn't, did you even know about it? Let me know, because I don't feel like they didn't really promote it that well, or at least that hard. I feel like I should have seen more promotion for it, but I didn't. So anyway, that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share all over the internet with your friends. If you're already subscribed, well, thank you very much. You're a smart and wonderful and beautiful individual. If you're not already subscribed, you can be a smart and wonderful and beautiful individual by clicking the subscribe and then jingle that bell for notifications so you'll never miss another video from moi. So that's it. I'll talk to you guys soon. I got more comic book reviews coming out this week. I got comic books to review, baby. And I may do a video, I don't know, maybe not about the Earthworm Jim crowdfunder, because that thing is insane. How fast that thing might go, just beyond. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and peace out.